Okay guys, like I promised in my last video, this one is gonna be about how I broke a back plateau. Even though I'm not quite sure I should call it a plateau because it was basically just me not focusing on my back since I started lifting, and as a result I didn't have much to show in that department. As you can see on the picture I'm gonna show now, which is the first picture I took of myself doing the back double biceps pose after 1 year of lifting. It's quite noticeable here that I'm not torso dominant but limb dominant. My arms and my shoulders were definitely mogging my torso development, and I was really starting to get this kind of lobster body. Or I guess since I like nerdy references, I could call it the bell spout mode. So I decided it was about time to really focus on my back, on the width and the thickness. And with the three things I implemented in my program, I really blew up my back in only 3 months. And when you look at my back now, it's more like the shell of a Blastoise mode. So I'm pretty satisfied with it. And without further ado, let me start to share details about those three things. So the first thing I did that I was avoiding during my whole first year of training was to include a lot of unilateral work. Of course, the rationale when you are a beginner is to try to get the best bang for your buck out of each exercise. And so you always tend to favor bilateral movements so that you can probably spend less time at the gym or spend more time at the gym but doing more exercises. But this is probably a mistake to keep that kind of framework when you become intermediate, at least for a handful of muscles, and I think the lats are one of them, because there's definitely benefits in stretching them well. And so what happens with unilateral work is that you can really kind of go like that with your arm and cross the center of your body and really get a good stretch on your lats. So for me, that was an important piece of the puzzle to really start to connect with the lats. I would say this is the main value also of the unilateral work, is that you can also, do this and kind of feel it contracting and stretching while you are doing the exercise. So if you have trouble connecting with the lats, and it's going to be the case of most people, most beginners, this can definitely help a lot. And you don't actually spend that much more time when you do it, because when you train one side, the other is resting a bit, right? So you can probably start again without any break. And I would mostly perform these as a warm-up and pre-activation. So yeah, this was a big change already in my program, and I could definitely see the value of that from the start. So that's one. The second point is more about technique and cues, especially since I'm arm dominant. I really have to really focus on using as much lats as I can and not my arms. And there are quite a few things that help me with that. The first one is a kind of mental cue. Whenever you do things like pull-ups, for instance, don't think in terms of you want to bring your chin up of the bar or things like that. Because then when you're in that kind of mindset, you can focus too much on bringing point A to point B. And the more intuitive way for your body to do that is to just to do this, to bring something to you. So you will pull up like that with your arms. So what helped me a lot here is to try to implement as many exercises as I can where the elbow doesn't move at all, actually. Exercises like pullovers, where you really focus on, bringing your arm like this and not doing that, but doing that movement. Other cues that help me with that is to imagine that my shoulders are like cogs, and basically the upper arm would be a stick on it, but the forearm would be more like a rope. And what I move is the upper arm, that stick. And I just, make that cog turn the mechanism. And so it's more about moving the armpit and focusing on bringing the elbow back. Usually you will have more movements like this also with this grip, like a supinated grip or neutral grip. Even though I did use quite a lot of Yates row with the pronated grip as well. But yeah, overall thinking in terms of, keeping your arm as close as you can to your body and really focusing on doing this movement here. Of course, you're still gonna train your back even if you bend your arm, but it's just a kind of more foolproof way to make sure that you isolate as much as you can. But yeah, sometimes it can be difficult, especially if you are already a bit tired. And that's actually also another point to be made, is that, of course, as a general rule, when you want to focus on a muscle group, you try to put as much as you can at the beginning of the workout. That's quite obvious, but just a good reminder here. So for instance, for quite a while, I had my big mover at the beginning of my workout. After a little bit of those warm-ups with the unilateral cables, I would do Yates row when I was still fresh and, ready to deal with some serious weights. And then the third point, and probably the most important, because it's the one in which I made the most dramatic change, is the volume. So I just digged into my logs. I can see now that on the first 3 months of my training, I was doing only 6 sets for my back. And then, yeah, I basically started to crank up the volume quite dramatically. So I went to 30 sets only for lats and 20 sets for the traps. That's 50 sets for the overall back. And since my back basically blew up, I decided to slow it a little bit down to focus a bit more on other areas. And I'm not saying that like I recommend it to you. My point here is just to share what worked for me. Some people just seem to respond well to a lot of volume, others don't. Just don't let any Brandon know-it-all tell you what works for you. Experiment like I did and see what works for you. Like I said in a previous video, volume itself as a variable, you cannot just isolate it and say it's good or it's bad. You have to see the intensity of your sets, you have to see your recovery, your rep ranges, what motivates you the most. And yeah, I'm more of this kind of workhorse type of lifter. I love grinding through my sessions and stay at the gym for 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, and have a lot of exercise variations and even try my own exercises based on what I feel is maybe lacking in some lifts, and I try to adapt it to my morphology and my liking. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I don't see the point of putting more fluff around it. That's just what I did and what worked. And I think it's a pretty good indication of what seems to work for me. I'm experimenting now with my arms and I'm already getting pretty good results having the same approach. So cranking up the volume, really trying to focus on perfecting my technique and using different cues, both mental and physical, to help me doing so. And doing more unilateral work as well. And actually, yeah, I guess that will probably be the next video focused on a body part that I'm trying to improve, because now I'm around 17 inches and I would like to get to 18 inches. And so I'm trying to focus more on my biceps and triceps now. And yeah, I think it would be cool to make a video like a start of the journey log or something like that. And then in a few months we could compare. So tell me if you would be interested in following along and get some updates whether it seems to work or not. And yeah, thank you guys for those who are watching and putting comments. It's very appreciated. For the moment, I still only get a few hundred views per video when the algorithm is pushing me on the homepage of people, I guess. And I still have only a couple hundred subscribers. So every like you put, every comment is very appreciated and it keeps me motivated to keep posting. So don't hesitate to share, like, and comment and help me that way. Bye, guys.